Hello, and welcome to Soundbites. I'm your host today, Holly Whitfield, the digital director at the Daily Memphian, your local online news organization and podcast provider. How about that? Today, I am here with food writer, chef Joshua Carlucci. Thank you so much, Josh, for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Holly.
This week, we'll talk more about Josh's $10 deals, including a milestone moment he reached recently, his background as a trained chef, some writing he's done, and what we have been cooking and eating lately. Don't forget, Soundbites is a Daily Memphian's food, drink, and dining podcast. It comes out every week. Please tune in on WYXR Radio live every Thursday at 11 a.m. Listen on iTunes, Spotify, etc., or you can listen at dailymemphian.com. If you're listening right now on February 27th on WYXR, keep listening. Up next, you can hear our arts and culture podcast from the Daily Memphian CEO, Eric Barnes. That's called The Sidebar. Another thing happening today, if you're listening on February 27th, it is the Daily Memphian's annual Women in Business Seminar. We host regular seminars at the Memphis Botanic Garden, same as today, this afternoon at 3:30. I'm hearing you could still register to get a space and hear Ursula Madden, head of communications at MLGW, Lee Mansberg of Junior Achievement, and Tina Sullivan, the former leader of Overton Park Conservancy. Those three women will be sharing all their business knowledge this afternoon at the garden, so you can still register at dailymemphian.com, or don't tell anybody this, but you can probably just walk in, get a ticket, and join in the fun. Thank you for sticking with me through all of those shameless plugs. Let's get started talking about food with Josh. Thank you for being here again.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here again. Thanks for having me.
If you're a Daily Memphian reader, you're familiar with Josh. He's our frequent food writer, contributor. He pens our $10 deal column, other great restaurant journalism in town. We talked with him recently, so it was so much fun. We just had to bring you back.
It was a great time.
Go back and listen to part one of the podcast with Josh. We talk about his South American travels and good eats. But let's talk more today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about today, but let's start out with more $10 deals, because a couple of weeks ago, you hit a major milestone in this weekly feature on affordable eats in Memphis. What was the milestone and how did you feel about it?
Yeah, well, on the last pod, it was funny because we were trying to figure out how many I'd done, and I think we were all kind of picking random numbers out of a hat, or like guessing a marble jar, you know? And so yesterday, when I was looking at the one that had just run, a couple weeks ago.
Sure.
I decided to click on my byline and then just count all of the $10 deals. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that week was 100, which was crazy. And I totally thought it was going to be like way less than that, but yeah, it was 100, and I had to go back and count twice because it seemed very serendipitous that was like 100, and that I've eaten that many $10-ish meals around Memphis.
Yeah.
So I guess it all seems like a blur now, but it was cool to see that.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks.
It's a lot. That's a lot of work and a lot of writing and a lot of looking and adding up costs and dollars and cents, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really feel like work, so that's a good thing, right?
That's great. In the last episode where you were our guest, we did talk about Garibaldi Taqueria and the delicious sandwich that you had there. That was one of your standout $10 deals. But today I want to count down, I'm going to say 3 memorable deals.
Okay.
So then we'll have like a top 4 kind of for people if they haven't dug into your 100+ article archive.
Goes way back.
Yes, way, way back. Let's count it down.
Okay.
3 more deals that we want to remember fondly.
Sure. In no particular order.
In no particular order.
So one that came up relatively recently, October 17th, 2024,
wow,
was a food truck called Chaka Our Chots, mm-hmm. which is, at the time, a relatively new food truck. It is on Poplar going towards East Memphis, right past the university, in I believe an ExxonMobil parking lot.
ExxonMobil parking lot, got it.
And it is Pakistani/Indian cuisine.
Okay.
So combination of both with a little bit of Southern flair. I got 3 things while I was there. So it was like kind of a 3 $10 deals in one, which I do sometimes.
Yes.
the Sikh kebab roll, which was full of spiced ground and grilled beef and like folded over in this really super buttery and flaky roti.
Yum.
Absolutely delicious. And my guy, Limmy's, he gave me like 3 different spicy sauces and chutneys with it. It was just unbelievable. Then I got these tandoori wings. So basically, Memphis style chicken wings, but instead of being, tossed in like a honey gold sauce, it was like a very buttery and spicy tandoori sauce.
Sounds amazing.
A lot of masala. Yeah, it was like really tangy, some tamarind in there. For those of you listening, there's a barbershop quartet currently going on in Crosstown Concourse.
I think we should leave all this in here. If you're listening, please laugh. There is an increasingly louder and louder.
I feel like they're ascending through the floors, like angelic.
We're on the 10th floor of Crosstown Concourse. As Josh said, they're sending beautiful love and peace vibes to us as we are recording a podcast on Valentine's Day today, getting you guys sorted out so you have lots of podcasts to look forward to in the coming weeks. I hope you can hear their angelic, dulcet tones. Okay, where we left off.
Yeah.
Was the Chaka food truck?
Yeah, Chaka Archat. So I talked about the wings.
Yes.
Talked about the kebab. And the last thing I got was this kind of like Indian street food snack type of chats, which is like crunchy snack. So it's called bel puri, which is like puffed rice crisps and chickpeas.
Yes.
And it's like covered in this tamarind and mint chutney. And it's it's almost like eating, like Rice Krispies without the milk, but then like made it super savory and like sweet and tangy. And it's just like a crazy, like crunchy, like experience in your mouth. It's great.
Crazy crunchy experience. This sounds really good. I'm curious about like the tamarind mint and so like
it's super fresh,
sweet and savory.
And tangy.
Yeah,
a little sour, and then there's like some yogurt sauce in there too. It's just a lot of sauces, a lot of herbs, very fresh. Texturally just very wild and intense, but very refreshing, yeah.
I'm going to have to try this out. I've been in a little bit of a rut lately with food. I've had some good stuff.
Yeah? What have you been eating?
But this sounds really good. I've just been really busy. So I've been having a lot of like burgers, like convenience food, like, okay, let me like grill this chicken, eat this broccoli, like that kind of thing, which there's nothing wrong with that. But like, as you're describing this, it's coming alive for me. Okay, so that is the first $10 deal we want to think back on.
Yeah.
Let's have another.
Okay.
Serve it up.
Yeah. So a long time ago, I guess this was almost a year ago now, I went to this place called Mi Tierra. Have you ever been?
Yes.
Okay.
It's been a long time though.
Yeah. So Mi Tierra is on Summer, I believe. And it's right next to that weird antique place.
Okay.
Get the name. But it's a really cool antique place. Anyways, this was like the first Colombian restaurant in Memphis. I think it opened in like the 90s or something, or the really early 2000s. And it's still around. And I mean, the reason it was so memorable for me, I mean, the food is great, but besides that, it's just this really crazy place. Like you walk in, it's got these like strobe lights. They're like red and green and blue, and they're like flashing everywhere. And it's like totally decked out. Like all of the columns that hold up the roof are decorated into fake palm trees.
Yes.
Has these like crazy like postcards and like Colombian flags like laminated into the tables, and it's got this like tiki bar in the middle. It's just totally wild. And the best part is that there's usually like a live DJ playing like cassettes or records or CDs back there, and it's just like old like cumbia music, and it's even if you're like not dancing, which like I am an awful dancer and wouldn't, I mean I would do it, but like at the moment by myself would not be caught dead dancing.
Sure.
I mean I was shaking my hips at the table, it was great. I was having a great time. And then I ate bandeja paisa, which is the traditional Colombian dish of like a gigantic fried chicharron, flank steak, avocado, beans, rice, egg, sausage. It's a ton of meat and protein. Very, very heavy, but delicious. And actually, the next time I went in there, I brought my friend Marie from New York and my fiance, and the woman who owns it recognized me and was like, "Oh my God, how are you? Thank you for writing this up. Like,
oh, that's
can
great.
you please print out your $10 deal and like bring it to me?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course I will." And so it's super sweet, and I love them. Yeah, they're great.
I love the Bandera de Paisa.
Yeah.
That's a good plate.
Yeah.
That's a good plate right there.
It's a good plate. Yeah, it's a cheap plate too.
Even better. Give it to us. We're going to, by the time this is done between these two episodes, we'll have like 4 or 5 standout $10 deals. So this is great.
Okay.
Last one for today.
Yeah.
Unless you have more.
No. Last one for today. So just RIP to Sam's Deli. I've done a couple $10 deals on them. And, you know, I think Memphis took a huge hit, you know, by them closing, and obviously restaurant closes are inevitable. But this one was like personal to me because I lived down the street and it was like one of the first places I ate when I moved here.
Oh, yeah.
And I just thought like the food was so peculiar in its fusion of like Indian and Korean and like, you know, American deli sub sandwiches. And anyway, there was like a ton of stuff that I love to eat there. But the most recent thing that I wrote a $10 deal on was the 65 pizza, which is the chicken 65, which was like their classic like spiced grilled chicken. Like it was tossed in this masala and like grilled, and then they put it on this pizza with like mozzarella and mint chutney, and it was just like the craziest thing to eat. Pretty intense, but like just for the price of like how much pizza you get, how delicious the chicken is, especially with that chutney, and then in pizza form was like so wild. And I had never eaten anything like that in all of my traveling and eating. Never eaten at a place like Sam's before that, and yeah, I miss it dearly. I think about it all the time. So
R.I.P. There's always places that stick in your mind like that and you miss, and also places that like you first ate at when you got here. Like I went to the Chinese sub shop. That was one of the first places that I went to when I moved to Memphis. I was going to U of M, and I was like,
it was on Highland back then, right?
On Highland, yeah. And I was like, this is amazing. I don't understand what is happening, but I love it. Really good. My attempt to segue into your background as a trained chef is sort of happening still. The segue, I mean, tell us about that.
Yeah. You know, I'm an okay cook. So, well, what do you want to know exactly?
So where did you train? I know that you worked in New York City at a special restaurant. What was that like? Yeah. And how do you incorporate like that part of your background and training into your life now? Yeah,
for sure. So kind of have an untraditional entry into the professional kitchen. I started working in restaurants. It was like my first job when I was 15. And then when I moved to New Orleans to do Teach for America, halfway through my teaching commitment, so on year 2, I decided that I was sick of teaching, but I wanted to finish the commitment. So I was going to start cooking on the weekends. So I started working in New Orleans, and I trained under Chef Michael Galata at Maypop. That's kind of where I came up. I started on Garde Manger, which is like, if you don't know what that is, it's the cold apps station, salads and stuff like that, charcuterie. And then I kind of worked my way up the line until the pandemic. And then when Maypop closed, I hopped over to Palm and Pine and trained under Amaris and Jordan Herndon. Which was awesome. And then my partner and I decided that we were kind of looking for something new. So we moved to New York City. I signed up for culinary school, and I went to the Institute of Culinary Education, lovingly known as ICE.
Okay. Oh, no.
Yeah. And yeah, I got my culinary degree there. I went Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. And then after I got out of school every day, I'd go to work.
Yes.
I worked at a bunch of different random restaurants in New York City. It was a weird place. I mean, it was a weird place to be at the time because it was like 2020.
Yeah.
And indoor dining was very on and off. Like we'd get an outbreak and it would close, and then it'd reopen, and then it would close again. So restaurants were kind of like hiring and letting people go like off and on. So it was a weird place to jump around. Like at one point it was me and all these other Michelin star cooks working at this like to-go pasta place in Park Slope where it was the only job that we could get. But when things kind of got a little more back to normal, I landed a job at this place called Crown Shy, which is in one of the skyscrapers in the financial district in Lower Manhattan. And that's a 1 Michelin star. And when I started working there, they were building the second restaurant, which was on like the 64th floor of that tower, and that just got 2 Michelin stars.
Yes, wow.
Like a year ago, called Saga. So yeah, I trained under Chef James Kent. He tragically passed away last year, but he left behind this like incredible legacy, and that was the last kitchen that I worked in. I kind of worked my way up the line there, and it was the Chef de Tournant, and yeah, it was a wonderful experience. But ultimately left the kitchen in 2022, which was a tough decision, but a bittersweet one. It's
a great story, and with some winding roads and some ups and downs. And so because of that, I think you've spent some time working on another project with your story that you also said you recently finished that, if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. So I just finished the most complete draft of manuscripts of a memoir.
Yes. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's called The Men on the Line. Mm-hmm. And it kind of encompasses all of these, different experiences at different restaurants that I have just told you about since I was in high school, to Crown Shy. But it is about cooking and is also not about cooking. It also weaves in a lot of flashback from my relationship with my father, which was a very complicated one, and he wasn't around, when I was a kid, but we've had a very like on and off relationship. And the book is kind of about how when I was growing up, I was like living in the shadow of this man that I didn't really know. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to figure out, being raised by a single mom, how it was that I was going to become a man when I didn't really have like a male figure in my life to, to look to that example for. And so in a way, it's kind of me piecing together what it means to be a young man, especially in these kitchens, where I'm working under men who I, start to both idolize and other men who have were very detrimental to like mine and others like mental health, And so it's kind of just, I guess, taking these different fragments of personalities of men and seeing like what works and like what do I want to emulate? Like, what does it mean for me to be a man? And how do I raise myself in this way if no one else can? You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it was interesting to write because, as I'm sure and probably a lot of other listeners know, like it's no secret that professional kitchens are very like, typically, stereotypically masculine, high energy, like quite toxic places, and by the time I got into the kitchen in New York, like it was a lot different than, Anthony Bourdain's New York of the early 2000s, but there was still like that energy there in a lot of ways, and there's
you
still that.
Probably meet people that have kind of evolved and come around from all the changes in the last few years in the industry, and other people who have not.
100%. Yeah. I really got a bit of both. And, but it was like such a great project to be able to work on. Of course, I feel like I personally moved past a lot of things that I maybe hadn't reckoned with before writing that, but it was also interesting to be able to, make a commentary on the state of hospitality, because although I left because, it was something that I loved, but it wasn't necessarily serving me, I still like very much care deeply about hospitality, and my work, is invested with hospitality and the restaurant industry, especially the people who work in it and the lifers in it. Like that's my audience, and that's like at the forefront of what I care about in being a writer and writing about restaurants. So,
and that comes through with all your work and all your writing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So do you still cook at home? Do you cook for yourself, your family, your fiance? Made anything good lately?
So I try to keep this tradition when I'm at home and not traveling of roasting a chicken every Sunday.
Okay.
I get all my chicken from Riley Family Farms, which is out in Holly Springs, Mississippi, and they have great pasture-raised, no antibiotic chicken.
Yes.
So I always stock up my freezer with like a big order of them. But my favorite thing is kind of just like get a whole chicken, spatchcock it, which means to, cut out the backbone. And then I clip the wingtips off, make stock with that. And then I just like do a really nice dry brine, leave it like open face in the fridge for like a day, 24 hours. and then it just roasts like super crisp and delicious. That's like my favorite thing to eat with, like some crusty sourdough or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
The bread is the thing. Well, you recently I'm not saying the right words, but you like butchered a goose on Instagram. Is that a thing you did recently as well?
It is, yeah.
It's related to this chicken project, I feel like.
Yeah, I've had some friends and my fiance who have both been really pushing me to like up my Instagram and my TikTok game.
Okay.
And I've been kind of rallying against that, but I feel like it's an inevitability that,
right.
I should probably dabble into it. And honestly, I've found that making cooking videos is kind of weirdly addictive. But yeah, so my buddy Ben at Riley Family Farms had an extra goose. They slaughtered a gaggle of geese, and they roasted some over Christmas. And he was like, "Hey, I just got this goose that I can't fit in my freezer. Do you want it?" And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." Never cooked a goose before, so I was trying to think about like what kind of content do I want to make, and in the same way that I like often try to write position towards people who work in hospitality, kind of want to do the same thing with like the content that I'm making. So
yes,
there's not a whole lot of like butchery unless you're like looking for that niche on your algorithm or whatever. But I thought it'd be cool to like show people like, what it looks like to break down a game bird,
Yes.
And, people will probably be like, well, why, like, who cares about like watching a goose being broken down? And I mean, even if you're not super interested in a goose, like
I was riveted, so here we are.
Well, I appreciate that. But it's like, they have the same anatomy as a turkey or a chicken or a duck, right? And at some point in your life, you might find yourself in front of a whole chicken and you want to bone out the breasts. And so you can do it the exact same way. So it's a useful skill to learn. And I did a bunch of cool stuff with the goose. I have a video coming up next that'll be making goose à l'orange, which is like a play on duck à l'orange, but obviously with goose, and like some blood oranges. And then I made goose confit from the legs, and then I'm gonna like stuff the neck with it and like make a terrine. I don't know, just kind of nerded out on this goose, but
I love that. That's great. Nerded out on this goose. Yep, we're gonna have merch soon. You can follow Josh at Joshua D. Carlucci on Instagram. In contrast, the thing that I cooked last night was I found a recipe for like beef and broccoli stir fry. I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm very rudimentary cook. Like I can get food on the table, like tastes pretty good. It's fine. Can use up some leftovers, add some like leftover fresh veggies from like a veggie tray at a party. And I was like, oh yeah, let's put these in with the flank steak, which was on sale at the fresh market. That's what kind of cook I am. I'm like that lady from Food Network a long time ago, like semi-homemade, like her meme is of her like pouring a whole bottle of vodka into a martini glass.
Yeah, she's great.
I'm not that part usually. I'm like the cooking part where she's like, oh, here's some stuff that we bought that was already made. And so I did that. But the recipe I realized halfway through was like a keto recipe or like a low carb recipe, which I love. I love that style of eating, but not now, not today.
Yeah.
And so I got some udon noodles and I just added them in. I didn't have any like arrowroot starch for the like thickening of the little coconut aminos sauce. I did have the coconut aminos.
Oh, so instead of soy?
Instead of soy, okay. We used coconut aminos, like added some more salt, like added some sesame oil, some garlic, and that was the sauce. It was a little plain. They were trying to work around some stuff, and I was trying to work around what I had in my pantry, so I didn't have a thickening agent. So then I just dumped a bunch of noodles in it. It was pretty good, but now if I make it again, I'm gonna like, it needs some ginger, it needs like some more salt, it needs some chili crisp oil or something.
Do you cook with fish sauce at all?
I have some, and I have before. Is that something I should add to this probably?
Yeah.
I bet that would do it.
It's like my shameless secret in like everything that I make is just a little like dash of fish sauce just to give it like a umami burst. And
yes.
if you add like not too much, you don't taste the anchovy funk of it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh wow, it's got a little extra oomph.
It. Yeah. I stared at it in my fridge and I was like, would this, I don't know. I don't have time.
You should.
This is good. Yeah. This is really helping me. Thank you.
Wait, you were mentioning the super Bowl.
Yes.
I want to hear about the Super Bowl.
The other thing that I've had at a party recently was we had to, I've seen this. I don't know if it's like a mini trend or a big trend or what. I've seen several people in Memphis have parties where everybody brings a soup, a homemade soup, probably. And then you have like muffin tins with little cups in them, and you go around, you have little soup samples. There's usually like some toppings and some fixins, cheese and green onions and croutons and stuff you can stick on there, and bread. You got to have bread. So I was invited to a Super Bowl party on Super Bowl day, and we had really great soups. They were all good. I figured one of them I would be like, not this one for me. I'm not really a big soup person too, because at some point I'm like, I just want to eat something crunchy. These are all great. They're amazing. We had a chicken and dumpling. We had a buffalo chicken soup. We had a tortellini with kale and vegetables in like a brothy situation. We had red beans and rice. I don't know if that counts as soup. We brought it. Someone made a delicious beef and vegetable. I brought a creamy tomato soup because I was like, we gotta have a tomato soup in here. And that was our menu. We had sourdough made by my friend Allie Mounts. Plug for her. She has some backyard chicken. She makes sourdough. She has like a farm stand in her High Point yard. Loud Mary's is what she calls it.
That's cute.
Okay, this has been super fun. I know we probably are a little over time, but maybe we can give some shout outs. Have you eaten anywhere super great lately that you want to shout out? Or just a great dish you had at a restaurant?
I just went to, recently, before the grand opening, I went to the Family and Friends soft opening of Hard Times Deli. I've given them a lot of ink,
yes.
And they've gotten a lot of ink from a lot of other people.
Yes.
And it's very much well-deserved.
What sandwich did you get?
I got the buffalo chicken Caesar.
Okay.
Incredible.
It looked wild.
It's wild. It's all right. I hate saying it's like the best, thing I've ever, but it's like one of the best sandwiches I've ever had.
Talk about the chicken.
Okay, yeah. So it's a breaded chicken cutlet, which like if you've ever eaten like a New York like bodega sandwich chicken cutlet, it's like very much like that, but like way thicker, better quality chicken, super crispy and delicious, but like drowned in buffalo sauce. And then the romaine, which is like, romaine hearts, super crunchy and delicious with croutons tossed in this. Obviously they're making all their sauces. They're making everything from scratch. Their Caesar dressing, absolutely unreal combination of flavors. And I'm like, why haven't I ever made myself a buffalo chicken Caesar salad before,
Yes.
Like I should have done that. But like, plus in a sandwich with locally made bread. I don't know who they get it from, but it's just awesome. Like
Hive.
They got it from Hive
Okay.
Bagel and Deli.
That makes so much
so.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Josh Steiner, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's incredible. Those guys deserve all their roses. I think they get them. But yeah, I think they're filling a very particular niche in Memphis that we've needed, which is just like knockout crazy sandwiches. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds delicious. We've had the Hard Times guys in mini stories. We've had some commenters be like, okay, y'all been writing about this for a while. Like, when's it going to open? Like,
yeah, a lot of anticipation.
Yeah.
Probably like one of the most anticipated restaurants, I feel like, this year.
I
agree.
It should be open.
Yeah.
Should be great. I'm not a huge fan of the buffalo flavor, but I think that I probably like a mass-produced buffalo sauce or something that you get somewhere. It's probably really different than this. And I'm always eager to try stuff that like, I don't like your everyday whatever, but I like this special one.
Yeah. I mean, what's cool about them is that they make like all of their own deli meat, like mortadella and salami and stuff.
Yes.
So even like just something as simple as like an Italian sub is going to taste totally different there, I think. So it's cool. Like they're very intentional about their ingredients,
Well, I will give it a try as soon as possible. Thank you so much, Josh, for sharing all your knowledge and tips and tricks and fun. Congratulations on your 100+ $10 deals, finishing a manuscript.
Thanks.
Lots of big milestones for you. We love talking to you.
Likewise. It's been awesome.
Thank you. This is the end of the Soundbites episode for today. I'm Holly Whitfield from the Daily Memphian. Listen to this on WYXR Radio Memphis every Thursday at 11. Listen on all your little podcast subscription apps on your telephone, dailymemphian.com. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.